After many years after the Tournament of Power, our friends would increase their powers to colossal scales. Goku and the others would become very strong, but not everyone would necessarily follow the path of martial arts. Piccolo, being a long-lived person, would remain as Dende's guide by his side, guiding him with his wisdom but also protecting him from possible threats. Vegeta would become Bill's disciple, to be precisely God of Destruction, while Goku would occupy a slightly more important position. He would be in charge of a divine division. As a result of the creation of timelines, problems that should be solved by Goku and the others would arise. Goku was the guardian of time and space, protector of the timelines, with the responsibility that beings did not travel from one line to the other without authorization. In addition to that, he had to foresee the creation of new timelines. With him acted Chronoa, the Kaioshin of time. One day, Goku traveled to Universe 7 while receiving the call of Chronoa. "Goku, I need you here urgently," would Chronoa say. "Is it an emergency?" Goku would ask. "Yes, it seems that someone is about to create a new timeline," Chronoa would say. "I'll be right there," Goku would say. Goku with the teleportation would reach the Palace of Time, the sacred place where all the guardians of time and space met. "Very well, tell me what happens," Goku would say. "A guy named Babidi is about to travel to the past and look for a previous version of Majin Buu," Chronoa would say. "For what?" Goku would say. "I do not know," Chronoa would say. "It's not like we care. The idea is to avoid change. I mean that Babidi woke up Majin Buu in his time, but he could not control him and he killed him," Goku would say. "I feel something stupid." "I know, but we don't have time to think. We have to go back to his time and prevent time from changing," Chronoa would say. "Okay," Goku would say. Goku wore a bracelet that allowed him to travel in time. He would place the necessary coordinates and make the trip. That way he would go 4,000 years in the past. He would meet Babidi at the point where Majin Buu was hidden. "Very well, I just have to take this to another place to wake him up more efficiently," Babidi would say. "I'm sorry, but I can't allow that," Goku would say. "Hey, who are you?" Babidi would say. "I've never seen you in my life." "My name is Goku, and I am the guardian of space-time," Goku would say. "Goku?" Babidi would say. Confused, since for some reason, from where he came, he did not know Goku. "Guardian of space-time? I guess you didn't even know that existed," Goku would say. "Great Nuja, I will not allow you to get away with yours," Babidi would say. Babidi would point at Goku to try to control him. His intention was to use evil within his body to become his slave, but it would not be effective since nothing would happen to Goku. "I don't understand," Babidi would say. "I have no evil within me, so those tricks won't work on you," Goku would say, laughing. Goku would hit his neck with the edge of his hand, and he would be unconscious. Then with his bracelet he would return to the Palace of Time. "Very well, here it is," Goku would say when he threw Babidi to the ground. "We must find out how he traveled in time and return him to his time," Chronoa would say. "I still think it's best to kill him," Goku would say. Although he erases his memories of the subject, he will have the intention. "If we kill him, we will create an alternate reality. Remember that events have to happen as you lived them," Chronoa would say. Babidi would wake up. He didn't understand what was going on. "What am I doing here?" Babidi would say, confused. "We have a couple of questions for you," Chronoa would say. "Hey, who the hell are you?" Babidi would say. Goku would hold Babidi by the neck and leave him floating with his feet. "He said he had questions for you, not that you could do them," Goku would say. "Damn it, let me go," Babidi would say. "Tell me, how did you travel in time?" Chronoa would say. "I won't tell you that. After all, you must know," Babidi would say. "So you don't need me to tell you. Chronoa, let's kill him," Goku would say. "Goku, not everything can be solved by killing people," Chronoa would say. "Heavens, for many years they taught me to kill villains to solve problems, and now they come to me with that I don't kill them?" Goku would say. Now decide, kill me? Babidi would say. Hey, Kronoa! Kronoa would observe Babidi in the eyes. Kronoa's eyes would shine in a strange, whitish hue. May all your memories of time travel disappear, Kronoa would say. I don't know what, Babidi would say, until his eyes would turn around and he would be unconscious. Very well, take him back to his time, Kronoa would say. Goku would scratch Babidi's timeline and leave him in the location where he belonged. Goku would observe a large library full of books and possessions. Heavens, this must be the place where he invents his things, Goku would say. Almost certainly here, he created the first Majin Buu. Goku would inspect the place. He would find some books where he talked about distortions in space-time. These things go from here, Goku would say. Goku would leave Babidi there, returning to the Time Palace. Babidi would wake up without understanding what was happening. Heavens, my neck hurts, Babidi would say. Did someone steal me? What happened? Meanwhile, Goku would return to the Time Palace, showing Kronoa the books. Here is the material he used as a study. I don't know if he used any artifact, but I couldn't stay for longer, Goku would say. Wow, I didn't think there were such manuscripts, Kronoa would say. Kronoa would take the books to a bonfire with blue fire. There, these would catch fire instantly, disappearing completely. Well, thanks for everything, Kronoa would say. Not only that, Kronoa would sense another distortion in time. Oh, come on, Kronoa would say. Don't tell me another distortion, Goku would say. It looks like we're in season, Kronoa would say. Kronoa would invoke a crystal ball where Bulma should work on the time machine. It's Bulma, but we agree that in that case we leave it so that everything stays the same, Goku would say. Goku, pay attention. That Bulma is from a time after the power tournament, Kronoa would say. I don't understand. I don't remember him doing that, Goku would say. It's not that simple. What he did, didn't do, or can do depends on many factors. He didn't do it until he did it. What? Goku would say. He never did what he was going to do because surely someone prevented him. That's why he's about to do what he shouldn't do. What? Goku would say. Look, leave it like that, Kronoa would say, tired. Go evade it. Okay, I'll talk to her, Goku would say. No, not like that, Kronoa would say. What do you mean no? Goku would say. Bulma knows you. You can't talk to her. Besides, she's a very curious scientist who already used time travel. Talking to her about the consequences would reveal the existence of the Time Palace. Erasing her memories won't be enough. At some point, something will make her want to try her experiments again. What do? I can't kill her, Goku would say. Of course you're not going to do that. Go talk to Beerus to ban him, Kronoa would say. After all, there is no problem with the gods. Okay, Goku would say. Goku would travel to that time just in the location of Beerus's planet. The god of destruction and the angel were outside the castle. Goku, what are you doing here? Beerus would say. Oh, those clothes, Whis would say. Wow, I see that you did notice, Whis, Goku would say. What are you talking about? Beerus would say. This Goku is not ours. He's a space-time guardian, Whis would say. Don't tell me there is something like that, Beerus would say. Yes, after a few attempts of creating timelines, the Time Palace was formed. We take care of the continuity of several timelines and prevent others from traveling in them, as well as avoiding the creation of new timelines. Wow, I really congratulate you for your position, Beerus would say. But I have to ask for the reason of your visit.
You have to prevent Bulma from creating a time machine, Goku would say. Goku would show, from his bracelet, an image where Bulma would be seen replicating the time machine in which Trunks of the future arrived. I think he hasn't learned anything from what happened to him, Beerus would say. I should disappear her. No, not that, Goku would say. Just go and tell him not to do it. If he does, you disappear her. I need Bulma to stay alive. Why? Beerus would seriously ask. Mr. Beerus, it is not correct to ask that, Whis would say. The issues of the space-time guardians are more serious than they think. Okay, Beerus would say. Goku would take Beerus and Whis, and with the teleportation, he would leave them behind Bulma. At the moment, Goku would leave there. What are you doing here? Terrified Bulma would say. That's what I came to ask you, Beerus would seriously say. Well, I'm just working, nervous Bulma would say, since she knew that what she was doing was wrong. You know that time travel is prohibited, but I see that you have not understood, Beerus would seriously say. Bulma had an English key in her hand that she used as a tool. Beerus would touch the key with the tip of his claw, and it would disappear completely by Hakai's energy. You go back to work on a time machine, and not only will I disappear you, but also the Earth, Beerus would say. Yes, I'm sorry, Bulma would say. Cronoa would see everything from the Palace of Time. Heavens, at least everything went well, Cronoa would say. Suddenly, someone would hold Cronoa from behind, covering his mouth. Cronoa would try to free himself, but the force of the mysterious subject was too much. Then he would close his eyes slowly. Cronoa would lose consciousness. Minutes later, we saw Whis and Beerus on somewhere on Earth, along with Goku. Everything is ready, Beerus would say. Anyway, we will be aware of any attempt to travel in time. I thank you very much, Goku would say. I would take them back to their planet, but I don't have anyone's reference key. No problem, we will travel as always, Whis would say. Okay, bye, Goku would say when returning to the Palace of Time. There, Goku would look for Cronoa everywhere, but he would not see her anywhere. Where did he go? Goku would say. Goku would call Cronoa, but he would not answer. Then he would realize that on the ground there was one of her claws. One moment, she would never let one of her claws fall, Goku would say, disconcerted. Someone must have attacked her. Goku would end up being very thoughtful when he thought about what could have happened to Cronoa. What will happen now that Cronoa was kidnapped? Who will be that mysterious subject? And even more importantly, will Goku be able to find Cronoa? We will know all that in the next part of this theory of Goku, the guardian of time and space. Thanks for watching the first part of this theory of Goku, the guardian of time and space. Remember to leave your like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see the next part of this theory, the video has to reach 70 likes, and I will upload it as fast as I can.
Goku would look for Cronoa's trail all over the Time Palace to make sure that his absence was not due to any enemy action. But he wouldn't find it. Damn. And now how do I do it? Goku would say. Goku would close his eyes and focus on looking for Cronoa. But no matter how much he searched, he couldn't track his key anywhere. This can't be happening, Goku would say. She would never leave this place without an explanation. Goku would leave there and go to the planet of Zeno Sama. He would logically go to the one that would correspond to him in his time. There were both Whole Kings and Daishinkan. He would explain what had happened and would give Daishinkan the swallow he had found. Wow, it doesn't seem like an easy situation to solve, Daishinkan would say. Cronoa has to show up. His position is important, Zeno Sama would say. Yes, anyone who has done this must pay, the other Zeno Sama would say. I know, but no matter how much I try to track her, I can't find her. I'm afraid something happened to her, Goku would say. I will collaborate with you in this search. Is there anything that I have noticed strange that can give us information? Daishinkan would say. Now that you say it, I had to do 2 missions at the same time, Goku would say. Goku would use his bracelet to show him the images of Babidi and Bulma. It is not very common for 2 attempts of alterations in the near future to be recorded, Goku would say. What if someone generated a distraction? It is very likely, Daishinkan would say. Your Majesty, if you excuse me, I will go through the universes and the relevant points.
In that way, Daishinkan and Goku would split up through the 12 universes in search of Klonoa. On the other hand, the Kaioshin of Time would wake up. She was dizzy without really knowing what was happening. She would try to move, but she was tied to a chair and very weakened. "What is this?" Klonoa would say when trying to get out, but she couldn't. Klonoa would try to raise her ki, but she was really weakened. "Damn, it's like someone absorbed my powers," Klonoa would say. Then she would see someone hooded in front of her. "Who are you?" Klonoa would say, terrified. "I think you're finally awake," the unknown voice would say, although she would feel distorted. "I want you to give me your power." "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just a Kaioshin of Time," Klonoa would say. "You say it with a humility that is annoying," the subject would say. "I want precisely your powers as a Kaioshin of Time." "I would never give you my position. Also, even if I wanted to give them to you, I couldn't," Klonoa would say. "It's time to go. I hope what happened to you today makes you reflect," the subject would say, and it would fade as if by magic. Then a strange crack would be seen in the nothingness, as if reality was breaking. This crack would explode, falling several pieces of glass. Daishinkan would be seen on the other side. "Wow, it really cost me to break this," Daishinkan would say. "What's going on?" Klonoa would say. Goku would arrive right away. "Klonoa, what are you doing here?" Goku would say. "It seems that someone created this mini-reality, like a kind of prison," Daishinkan would say. Goku would help Klonoa to get rid of the chair. He would untie the rope, noticing something strange in it. "Hey, this seems magical," Goku would say. "Yes, I canceled my ki," Klonoa would say. Klonoa would fade. She couldn't stand up. Goku would help her right away. "Hey, are you okay?" Goku would ask. "Yes, I'm very tired," Klonoa would say. Then she would close her eyes, being unconscious. "Did they do something to her?" Goku would say. When he took her in his arms, "I think the best thing will be to take her from here to rest," Daishinkan would say. Moments later, we see Goku and Daishinkan with Klonoa on the planet of Zeno Sama. The kings of everything were there, waiting for Klonoa to wake up. She would finally do it, although she still felt very tired. "Wow, you finally woke up," Goku would say. "What happened?" Klonoa would say. "Oh my god, I feel very bad." "Miss Klonoa, it seems that someone drained a lot of your energy," Daishinkan would say. "Then I will recover it," Klonoa would say. "It's very bad," a Zeno Sama would say. "Yes, it's very bad," another Zeno Sama would say. Klonoa would try to get up, but as soon as she got in, her body would end up winning. "I'm sorry to tell you that she will not be able to exercise in that state," Daishinkan would say. "It's very dangerous for you." "But I can't leave my functions," Klonoa would say. "We will look for a replacement. Don't worry about that," Daishinkan would say. "A replacement? But who?" Klonoa would say. "I guess them," Daishinkan would say. "No, anyone but her," Klonoa would say. "Annoying. What happens to her?" Goku would say. "Oh, it's the previous Kaioshin of Time. She was given a low for low performance, but I suppose we can trust her in the meantime," Daishinkan would say. Klonoa would feel a strong pain in her stomach, as if something was overwhelming her. "What is wrong with you?" Goku would say, worried. A sector of Klonoa's skin would turn purple, as if something was affecting her. "I think something is affecting her. It must be for that mysterious attack," Daishinkan would say. "I will find out who did this and I will make him pay," Goku would say. "I will go look for them in the meantime," Daishinkan would say. "Anyway, Mr. Goku, you must meet her, as she will be your Kaioshin of Time." "I understand," Goku would say. Daishinkan would take Klonoa from the little pig he had left. The other already possessed him before. "If you'll excuse me, I will have to give them to him now," Daishinkan would say.
Go ahead, Krinoa would say. Daishinkan and Goku would go look for Eos to ask him to take Krinoa's position. Wow, so after they kick me out, they ask me for it, Eos would say. We understand that he may not like it, but I remind you that without a Kaioshin of time, things would not work in reality, Daishinkan would say seriously. Okay, I guess I have no choice, Eos would say. Daishinkan would give the clay to Eos and she would put them on. I wish you good luck. This will be only temporary, Daishinkan would say. After Krinoa recovers his functions, we will reward her well. There is something here that I don't like, Goku would seriously think. You must be a space guardian in time if I'm not mistaken, Eos would say. I'm Goku, Goku would say, to the defensive. Daishinkan would notice Goku's attitude. Mr. Goku, is something wrong? Daishinkan would say. No, nothing, Goku would say. Now that we already know each other, I have to patrol Eos. Remember that you can call me in case of any problem. Sure, I'll keep that in mind. I will go right now to the Time Palace. Goku would leave there as soon as possible, while he was looking for a way to help Krinoa. The more time passed, the worse she felt. She would be under the protection of Daishinkan, although he was not clear what was happening. Moments later, Goku continued without finding any clue of what was happening to Krinoa, and much less of who his attacker was. At that moment, he would receive a call from Eos. Goku, I need you here, Eos would say. What's up? Goku would ask, the defensive. Someone is trying to change the time a lot in the past, Eos would say. I'm going there, Goku would say. Goku would arrive at the Time Temple to receive the directives, although he was not very satisfied with working for Eos. Something in her caught his attention a lot. He could already feel it in her cheating eyes. Tell me what's going on, Goku would say. Hey, I feel like we started with the left foot. Did I do something that will bother you? Eos would say. To begin with, I don't trust you, Goku would say. I hope you have nothing to do with what is happening to Krinoa, Eos would say. That we are not friends doesn't mean that I have done something to him, Eos would say. Whatever. Tell me what to do, Goku would say. To divert the subject, Eos would show him an image of Frieza. Here's the problem, Eos would say. It can't be true. What time is he coming from? Goku would say, disconcerted. I don't know, but he traveled a lot in the past. Something must be looking, Eos would say. That bastard is on Earth, Goku would say. As soon as he puts his hands on it, he will realize that he was wrong in planning whatever he is doing. Goku would travel there as soon as possible, getting in the way of Frieza. Frieza, what are you doing here? Goku would say, furious. Frieza, what are you doing here? Frieza would ask. I asked first, Goku would say. I think I'll have to fix this for the bad guys. I cannot allow you to change anything in time. Goku would raise his ki and reach Frieza with a strong punch, but the evil Emperor would hold his attack as if nothing. It is not true, Goku would say. Did you think I would stay like this without doing anything? Frieza would say with a devilish smile. I don't know what time you think I am, but I can tell you that you miss a lot. Frieza would hit Goku in the chest, throwing him several meters away. Goku would stay on the ground. It would cost him to get up. When trying to stand up, he would fall again, since he had several broken ribs. Oh, I think I already broke it, Frieza would say with laughter. Come on, stand up so you can enjoy this. Goku would stand up as best he could. Damn, this guy is really strong, Goku would say. Come on, don't waste my time, fight and ready, Frieza would say. Frieza would throw a ki laser at Goku. This would receive the direct impact on his knee. Damn, Goku would say. Don't worry, I have many more for you, Frieza would say. You don't know the desires I have to make you suffer. Frieza would reach Goku with a strong kick in his stomach.
Then he would attack him with a series of consecutive blows without rest. Goku could barely defend himself from the great power that Frieza wielded. He felt that he was in serious trouble. At one point, he would give him a strong knee under the ribs that would leave him hunched. And then with a hook, he would knock him down. Goku would fall to the ground injured, but even so, he was not willing to give up. "Don't think you got away with this," Frieza would say. Frieza would throw a key ball at Goku, but another energy ball would hit her from one side, making her explode. Vegeta had arrived just in time to save Goku. "Vegeta!" Goku would say, amazed. If this insect hadn't arrived, I would have finished you," Vegeta would say. "Wow, you really are an intruder. But it doesn't matter, I'll kill them both," Frieza would scream, very angry with the Saiyans. What could happen now that Frieza appeared? Could Goku and Vegeta defeat him? And also, can our friends save Kranoa and keep her safe? We will know all that in the next part of this theory of Goku saving time and space. Remember to leave your like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see the next part of this theory, the video has to reach 70 likes, and I will upload it as fast as I can. See you in the next video.
Vegeta would arrive just in time to help Goku. "I'm glad you arrived," Goku would say. "We found out that you were in trouble, and when I saw that it was about Frieza, I couldn't help but come and give him what he deserved," Vegeta would say. "I guess you two can't be apart," Frieza would say. "Annoying, Kakarot." Vegeta would say. Goku and Vegeta would raise their ki to the maximum, transforming into Super Saiyan Blue. Both would throw everything at Frieza. Between the three, they would start having an epic fight. Eos, at that moment, observed everything from the Time Palace. "Who made it easy for Frieza to travel in time?" Eos would say. Despite the suspicions, Eos didn't seem to be involved in the matter. On the other hand, Jiren would arrive at the Time Palace. "Hey, who are you?" Eos would say. Jiren would walk slowly towards Eos, threatening her with his presence. "Hey, I'm talking to you," Eos would say. Eos would throw a key ball at Jiren, but when it hit, it wouldn't do him the slightest damage. Then he would notice an M marked on his forehead. It was the mark Jiren had. He was being controlled by Babidi's powers. "I know that mark," Eos would say. Eos would point to Jiren. He would cover himself with energy that would act as a barrier. Jiren would take difficult steps, but he could keep moving forward. Eos would make a great effort to maintain his technique, but Jiren would manage to destroy it by expanding his ki. "It can't be true," Eos would say, terrified. Jiren would suddenly throw everything at Eos, but he would fall to the ground when he received a blow. Jiren was passed out on the floor. Eos didn't understand anything. "What's going on?" Eos would say. "Don't worry, everything is fine." Daishinkan would say that he was the one who saved her. "Supreme Priest," Eos would say. "It seems that someone is plotting something with time." Daishinkan would say. "He is only looking for distractions." Daishinkan would point to Jiren, and with his powers, he would take away the M, freeing him from Babidi's control. Then he would return to the planet of Zeno Sama. He would see Kranoa while she was agonizing. That violet energy was still spreading while she was complaining. Kranoa was perspiring and had an agitated breath. The kings of everything and the guardians were guarding her. "If it continues like this, he will die," Zeno Sama would say. "Yes, if it continues like this, he will die," the other Zeno Sama would say. "As we expected, someone else attacked Eos, so we can rule out that this is a plan of his own," Daishinkan would say. "It seems that the magician Babidi has controlled Jiren to attack her. He could disappear if he is in this timeline," Zeno Sama would say. "Yes, but we don't know what timeline it is," the other Zeno Sama would say. Kranoa would start screaming in pain. The spots on his skin were still spreading. Meanwhile, Goku and Vegeta continued with their fight against Frieza. Little by little, they managed to get an advantage. Although it was a really close encounter, Frieza at one point would create a great ball of ki, and he would throw it towards both Saiyans. The two would hold it, making a great effort to retain it. "Vegeta, cover me," Goku would say. "What?" Vegeta would say. Goku would disappear with the teleportation. Vegeta should hold only the ball of ki, making an extra effort. Goku was behind Frieza and knocked him down with a ki attack. Frieza would fall to the ground, losing his golden form.
Vegeta would deflect Frieza's attack, but losing the Super Saiyan Blue due to the energy expenditure. Kamehameha, Goku would say, preparing his Kamehameha to finish Frieza off. Frieza would suddenly throw a ki laser towards Goku, piercing his shoulder. Goku would scream in pain, interrupting his attack. Kakarot, you're an idiot, Vegeta would say. I'm tired of fighting against you. I would have eliminated you long ago, Frieza would say. Goku could not move his arm. The wound on his shoulder wouldn't let him. Oh heavens, I got distracted, Goku would say. Frieza would throw a ki attack towards Goku, knocking him down. He would fall to the ground, losing his transformation. Vegeta was alone to keep fighting. Very well, now I'll take care of you, Frieza would say. I don't believe that, Vegeta would say. Vegeta would take out of his pocket a small golden ornament, which he would place on his ear. I've seen that before, Frieza would say. It can't be! Vegeta would start increasing his ki to great levels. Frieza didn't want to give him any advantage. Vegeta would arrive with a strong blow to his stomach, and although the blow seemed to sink, Vegeta wouldn't move. I don't understand, Frieza would say. Did you think I couldn't against you? Vegeta would say. Vegeta would explode his ki, throwing Frieza away. His body released energy from Hakai. Vegeta, don't forget that I'm getting ready to be God of Destruction, Vegeta would say. Bastard, I won't let you get away with this, Frieza would say. Frieza would transform into Golden Frieza despite his condition. He would throw a powerful punch to Vegeta's face, but at the moment of impact, he wouldn't do anything. Then Frieza's fist would disintegrate due to the Hakai energy, as well as his whole body. Vegeta, Goku would say, annoyed when he stood up. And now what do you want? Vegeta would say. Why didn't you do that from the start? Goku would say. Because that's not funny, Vegeta would say. Moments later, we see Goku arrive to the planet of Zeno Sama. He was still badly wounded, but he needed to know how Klonoa was. It can't be. He is still in bad shape, Goku would say. Mr. Goku, look at yourself, Daishinkan would say. Goku's shoulder was still bleeding. It's going to dry up if he keeps losing more blood, a Senosama would say. Yes, it's going to dry up, the other Senosama would say. I know, it's just that I was a little complicated, Goku would say. Daishinkan, can you heal me? Daishinkan would heal Goku in an instant. Wow, like new, Goku would say. Goku would get closer to Klonoa. She wouldn't stop complaining. It can't be. If he's still like this, he won't survive, Goku would say. Eos and Whis would appear. What are you doing here? Goku would say. We managed to find the cure, Whis would say. Wait, I don't trust you, Goku would say. But I do, Whis would say. Whis would take out a small bottle and give it to Klonoa to drink. Little by little, the purple spots on his body would disappear. Klonoa would open her eyes. She seemed to recover. At least she wasn't agonizing. What happened? Klonoa would say. You should thank Mrs. Eos, Whis would say. Eos would observe aside, dodging Klonoa's gaze. What are you talking about? Goku would say. It turns out that Mrs. Eos found some of the books that Klonoa was burning, and in them she found the reason for his illness. It was with which we made an antidote, Whis would say. So, did you help me?
Klonoa would say, don't get confused, I only did it to return home. Eos would say, wait, those books belong to Bobby D. Goku would say, yes, I was burning them. Klonoa would say, that means that Bobby D was behind all of this. Of course he was. He manipulated Jiren to attack me. If it wasn't for the Supreme Priest, she would be dead. Eos would say, it's clearly Bobby D who's behind all of this. Whis would say, it doesn't make sense. If Klonoa erased his memory, Goku would say, I think I'll have to go look for him. If it's about the same Bobby D and not another one. Daishinkan would say, of course, 2 time travel attempts. Klonoa would say, surely he made that attempt along with the Bulma event to take us by surprise, but surely he didn't count on me to take your place. Eos would say, Klonoa? Goku would say, yes, let's go. Klonoa would say, Klonoa would realize that she didn't have the clay. At that moment, Eos would take them from her to return. Here, I didn't want to use them anymore. Eos would say, thanks for everything. Klonoa would say, Goku, let's go see Bobby D. But wouldn't it be better if you stayed in the Time Palace? Goku would say, no. After all, if I stayed alone, I could be attacked again. Klonoa would say, At least with you, I'll know what's going on. I just ask you to be careful. Daishinkan would say, okay, this time we'll take Bobby D's life so he won't have problems again. Goku would say, Goku and Kranoa would go to Bobby D's lab in that timeline they attended before. While Vegeta was meditating on the planet of Beerus, the god of destruction was attentive to him, since he knew he had destroyed that Frieza from another timeline. Whis would return from the planet of Zeno Sama. Mr. Beerus, does something happen? Whis would say, observe Vegeta's ear. Whis would say, Whis would realize he had that jewel that a god of destruction used. Wow, and it seems he hasn't taken it off yet. Whis would say, I don't know you, but in my opinion, I think it's ready. Whis would say, he just used the destruction in Frieza, then he can leave it to him when he wants. Whis would say, yes, I think I'll do that. Goku and Kranoa would investigate Bobby D's lab, but they wouldn't find anything relevant. I can't believe it. The best thing would have been to eliminate him. Kranoa would say, that fool of Bobby D thinks he can get away with it. Goku would say, suddenly Goku would throw himself at Kranoa, throwing him to the ground. He had saved her from a ki attack. What happens? Kranoa would say, they're attacking us. Goku would say, both would stand up, watching Broly in front of them. But this Broly had an M in front of him. It can't be. Kranoa would say, this is wrong. Goku would say, Broly would open his mouth, throwing a big ki beam. Goku would transform into Super Saiyan Blue, holding the attack with all his power. Terrified, Kranoa would stay behind Goku. Goku, this is too much. Kranoa would say, that's what I realized. Goku would say, Broly would stop his attack. Goku could rest for a moment. It was hard for him to breathe because of the effort he had made. Then Broly would throw himself like a torpedo to Goku, hitting him. Goku and Broly would leave that lab while they started fighting. I can't believe it! Phobelia is recruiting the most powerful beings of all the signs of time! Disconcerted, Kranoa would say. In a moment, Kranoa would move to one side. A feeling of guard would alert her. A hooded guy was on the lookout. Wow, I see that now you are attentive, the guy would say. Kranoa would join his hands, throwing a ki attack. The guy would reject the attack with a ki cut from his hand. Seeing the green skin hand and that technique, Kranoa would realize who it was. It can't be. It's you, Zamasu, Kranoa would say. Zamasu would take off his hood, showing himself. Indeed, it's me, Zamasu would say. You don't know how stupid I felt when I discovered that there was the position of Kaioshin in time. You are a bastard. You are responsible for all of this, Kranoa would say. In reality, no, Vavidi would say. Vavidi, Kranoa would say. We have joined forces to achieve our goal, Vavidi would say. Get rid of the gods and destroy the mortals, Zamasu would say. Kranoa would get on guard, ready to fight. Goku would realize the presence of Zamasu and Vavidi, but he couldn't do anything about it since Broly was on his way. Damn, I can't leave her alone, Goku would say. Goku would fly at full speed towards Kranoa, but Broly would catch him. He would hug him with great force, putting a great pressure on him. Kranoa! Goku would scream, worried about Kranoa. What will happen now that Zamasu and Vavidi appeared in front of her? Will Goku be able to save Kranoa? And even more important, what will Zamasu and Vavidi's plan be? We will know all that in the next part of this theory. Thanks for watching the third part of this theory of Goku saving time and space. Remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see the next part of this theory, the video has to reach 70 likes and I will upload it as fast as I can. See you in the next video.
Goku and Kranoa were in serious trouble since they were being surrounded by their enemies. Enough! It will be better if you leave me alone, Goku would say. Broly not only did not stop, but he was also totally out of his mind. He did not react to Goku's words, since the control of Babidi was too powerful. Goku would scream when he exploited his ki to the maximum. Goku would manage to get rid of Broly, and then he would give him a strong kick in his stomach. While the Titan would receive the attack of Geno, then he would hold him by the ankle and would start to spin in circles to throw Goku away. Goku would impact strongly against the ground. Then Broly would throw himself on him, but Goku would move aside just in time, getting rid of being crushed. "Damn, that was close," Goku would say. On the other hand, Zamasu would throw himself towards Kronoa to catch her. Kronoa would try to defend himself, but Zamasu's level was much higher. Zamasu would easily dodge each of his attacks. At one point, Zamasu would kick Kronoa, moving her several meters away. Then he would throw him a ki beam. Kronoa would cross her arms to resist the impact. Even so, it would be too powerful, so she would fall several meters away, being stunned. After that, Zamasu would get next to her. "Remember that you can't kill her. We need her alive," Babidi would say. "I already have it clear, but I don't need you to remind me," Zamasu would say. Kronoba would try to stand up, but she was not in condition. Zamasu would prepare a ki attack to leave her completely out of attack, but Eos would arrive with a flying kick, throwing Zamasu away. "What is she doing here?" Babidi, furious, would say. "Eos?" Goku would say when he realized his presence, but in that distraction, he would receive a fist bump from Broly. "What are you doing here?" Kronoa would say, disconcerted, since she and Eos were not friends. "It's very simple. I don't want you to die, or otherwise I will return to your position," Eos would say. "Damn, great nurse, it is supposed that there should not be another Kaioshin of the time," Babidi would say. "This insolence was the one that delayed our plans," Zamasu would say. "But I will be able to eliminate her." Zamasu would create a keyblade in his hand and would throw everything at Eos. But Kronoa would stand in front of her, would hold the keyblade between the palms of his hands. "If you are going to help me, try to be attentive to the fight," Kronoa would say. Eos would point upwards, originating a great keyball. This would shoot rays towards Zamasu. Zamasu should dodge the attacks, moving from side to side until the keyball would be completely consumed. At that moment, Kronoa would advance towards Zamasu, throwing him away from a kick. Then Eos and Kronoa would launch together towards Zamasu. They would begin to attack him in a coordinated way. Zamasu was in big trouble, since he had a hard time fighting two opponents at the same time. "Zamasu, don't be stupid. You shouldn't be in this situation," Babidi would say. "If you only helped, instead of criticizing, this would be easier," Zamasu would say. "Idiot, I'm a wizard, not a warrior," furious Babidi would say. Goku still had problems against Broly. Both fought in a very even way. At least with the presence of Eos, he could be a little calmer. "Damn, if I don't do something, these fools will get away with it," Goku would say. "One moment," Goku would say, realizing something. Goku would take distance from Broly and would go straight to Babidi. "No, it can't be," Babidi would say, terrified. Broly would go ahead of Goku and would connect a knee in his stomach. Goku would cough blood without being able to move. "Damn, don't let me get to him," Goku would say. Zamasu with a ki attack would knock down Kronoa and Eos. Both would fall to the ground, but would get up right away. They were exhausted for the fight they had, but Zamasu looked like nothing. "He must be immortal, that's why he never gets tired," Kronoa would say. "That makes sense," Eos would say. "Now, cover me. I think there is something I can do." "What?" Kronoa would say. Eos would throw himself at Zamasu, while Kronoa would attack him with several ki rays one after another. Zamasu would cross his arms, resisting the attacks. Eos would advance towards Zamasu, but in one moment would stand behind him. Eos would create a wall of ki behind Zamasu. "What is he doing?" Zamasu would say. Then Eos would move to each side of Zamasu, creating other walls of ki. In one movement, he would start to crush them. Zamasu was trapped in a cube of ki that acted as a jail. "Don't think you can stop me with this," Zamasu would say. "Of course," Eos would say. Eos would put his hands together and the cube of ki would start to shrink. Strangely, Zamasu would also do this, until he was smaller than the palm of a hand. "It's not true," Babidi would say. "I didn't know I could do that," Chronoa would say. Zamasu would increase his ki, trying to free himself from the cube of ki. He would tremble as he managed to resist it. "I don't think it lasted long," Chronoa would say. "It's not forever. I just need a moment," Eos would say. Eos would watch Babidi. The wizard would start to retreat scared. "Hey, don't you dare get close," Babidi would say. Eos would reach Babidi and attack him with the edge of his hand, ripping his head off. Despite that, Babidi would still be alive, although agonizing. At that moment, Broly and Goku were forcing, but Broly would lose the mark of the M and would stop being under the demon of Babidi. Little by little, he would calm down. "What's going on?" Broly would say, confused. "Broly, you regained your consciousness," Goku would say. "What happened?" Broly would say. Goku and Broly would get closer to the situation. Zamasu would let him insist on escaping when he noticed that everything had gone wrong. "Damn, that wizard is a fool," Zamasu would say. "Don't think I'll let you get away with it," Babidi would say, furious. "There is nothing you can do," Eos would say when he pointed to Babidi. "Wait," Chronoa would say. Eos with a ki attack would completely disappear Babidi. "You didn't have to do that," Chronoa would say. "Of course. Look at all the problems it caused," Eos would say. "But we needed that information," Chronoa would say. "Come on, it's not that bad," Eos would say. "Eos is right," Goku would say. "We left him alive once and almost didn't tell him. They used many powerful warriors, so it was the best." "Well, looking at it from this side, I guess you were right," Chronoa would say. "As for you, I think I have something to do," Goku would say, when he took Zamasu in his arms. "Wait, what the hell do you want to do?" Zamasu would say, terrified. Broly would be taken to his timeline, while the rest would go to the planet of Zenoms. Goku would take Zamasu to the kings of everything to deliver him. "It can't be! I'm lost!" Zamasu would say. Zamasu would see the Zeno Zamasus up close. They looked giant in front of their small size. "I remember, I disappeared it with the universe," one of the Zeno Zamasus would say. "I think they have to play," Goku would say, laughing. One of the Zeno Zamasus would take Zamasu and throw him to the other, so they would be playing with him for several minutes. Wow, in the end, everything turned out well, from what I see. That's right, Babidi was trying to get fighters from all the timelines. He was working for Zamasu, Goku would say. "Fortunately, we managed to solve it. Babidi was already destroyed. I'm glad everything turned out well," Daishin-kan would say. "Miss Eos, I have to thank you for everything. Despite not having more responsibilities on the subject, it was very helpful." "It's nothing. It was a pleasure to help," Eos would say. Everything would go in order with the timelines intact. Both Zeno Zamasus would continue to play with Zamasu until they got bored. Finally, they would end up disappearing when they would not be entertained anymore. On the other hand, Goku would reach the planet of beans. Vegeta would be wearing the clothes corresponding to a god of destruction. "Vegeta, you are a god, and I have surpassed you," Vegeta would say. "So if you want to fight, first train and get stronger. I would tell you to fight, but after what you did with Frieza, you dazzled me," Goku would say. "You are incredibly strong. Let's hope Mr. Vegeta is a good god of destruction," Whis would say. "At least we know he doesn't sleep that much." "Hey, what are you trying to say with that?" Beans would say. "Nothing, it was just a joke," Whis would say. "Vegeta, let me congratulate you," Goku would say. "Now I have to go. I have to keep patrolling." Goku would return to his work. Chronoa would continue to control the timelines. To all this, Eos was at home remembering the adventure he had gone through. "Heavens, I hope I don't have to do something like that again," Eos would say.
I got used to having free time. Suddenly, a portal opened in front of Eos. There was Babidi with Zamasu. But this time, it wasn't the same Zamasu from the first time. It was the Zamasu merged with Black. What is going on? Eos would say disconcerted.
Of course, and you fell very easily, Babidi would say. Zamasu, go get her. Zamasu would seriously observe Babidi. He didn't seem to be happy with him. Hey, what's wrong with you? Babidi would say, confused. I told you no one gives me orders, Zamasu would say seriously. Even if you are a very powerful magician, you are still a mortal. Anyway, we have a plan, Babidi would say, annoyed, although he also looked really nervous. Eos would raise his key and try to escape, but in an instant, Zamasu would be in front of her. It's not true, Eos would say. Eos would launch a key attack at close range, but after a big explosion, nothing would happen to Zamasu. Idiot! Do you think you can against a supreme god? Zamasu would say. Zamasu, with a simple hit, would knock down Eos. She would fall hard, hitting the ground. The attack had been devastating. She could hardly move. Damn, Zamasu! Eos would say. Quick, before we get more attention, Zamasu would say. Babidi would go for Eos. He would use his magic to turn her into a little blue gem. Ready, it's done, Babidi would say. Babidi would take the gem and give it to Zamasu. So this is how the power of another living being is used, Zamasu would say when looking at the gem. All its essence is concentrated in that jewel, Babidi would say. Now you can benefit from its power. Zamasu would place the gem in front of her. She would sink in it. Suddenly, Zamasu's eyes would shine, and he would raise his power to an unimaginable level. What was that? Goku, confused, would say. How strange. For a moment, I felt something bad happened. Zamasu had just absorbed the powers of Eos. It's incredible. The powers of someone who was Kaioshin of Time are more beneficial than I expected, Zamasu would say. Even if it wasn't the official Kaioshin of Time, it was at the time. Also, by causing Kronoa to be out, he took his place recently. That kept his essence of the position, Babidi would say. Now that I have this new power, nothing can stop me, Zamasu would end up very excited. What could happen now that Zamasu became strong thanks to Eos? Zamasu will try to conquer all the timelines? And also, will Goku and our friends be able to stop Zamasu and Babidi's plans? We will know all that in the next part of this theory of the Fire Guardian of Time and Space. Thanks for watching the fourth part of this theory of the Fire Guardian of Time and Space. Remember to leave your like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see the next part of this theory, the video has to reach 70 likes, and I will upload it as fast as I can. See you in the next video.
A new Zamasu had been born, the fusion of two Zamasus, one immortal, another with Goku's body, and also now with the power of a Kaioshin of Time inside him. Babidi and Zamasu's plans were going as planned. Those fools think they killed me and only eliminated a copy of me, said Babidi. It's time to show them who's in charge. First things first, said Zamasu. Zamasu would begin to raise her ki. A strange aura would sprout from her body. All the timelines would begin to be affected.
each of the angels would feel the distortion in time. The kings of everything were on their planet. Zeno Sama of the future would begin to look transparent. "Hey, what's wrong with you?" said Zeno Sama of the present. "Help, they're handling me," said Zeno Sama of the future when he finished disappearing. "It can't be," said Zeno Sama of the present, very sad. "This must be the result of some distortion in space-time," said Daishinkan. "That's why the other Zeno Sama disappeared. He must have returned to his time." Goku would notice something strange in the timelines and would go as soon as possible to the Palace of Time. Upon arrival, he would see everything in ruins. "I don't understand. What's going on?" said Goku. "Goku," he would call Krinoa, but she looked very weak. "Krinoa," said Goku, disconcerted. "Goku, something happened with time," said Krinoa. "I felt something, but I don't understand it," said Goku. Daishinkan would arrive at the Palace of Time. "It seems that something disconnected the timelines," said Daishinkan. "How is it possible?" said Krinoa. "Supreme Priest, what do you mean by that?" said Goku. "Someone or something managed to cut any link between the timelines," said Daishinkan. "That causes you not to be able to travel between them by any method. In addition, everything that was outside his timeline returned to its moment." "What happened to Zeno Sama of the future?" said Krinoa. "He eventually returned to his future," said Daishinkan. "It can't be. Trunks and Mai," said Goku, terrified. "They must have returned to that future. They must be floating in the middle of space," said Krinoa. "At this point, they must have died out of nowhere. But how could this be possible?" said Goku. Krinoa would take a crystal ball and try to observe the other timelines, but it would be impossible. "Damn, there's a lot of interference," said Krinoa. The Palace of Time would begin to tremble. Immediately, it would fall to pieces. "It can't be. The Palace of Time," said Krinoa. "Our friends would get out of there. The Palace of Time would end up collapsing completely." "I don't understand," said Krinoa. "This is worse than I thought," said Daishinkan. "Without connection in the timelines, the palace loses coherence by itself." Daishinkan would observe his hands. He would notice how they would begin to evaporate. "Supreme Priest," said Goku. Goku would go through the same. "We are evaporating," said Goku. "The disconnection between the timelines are doing their job. Only the timeline will exist," said Daishinkan. "I feel good," said Krinoa. "It's logical. You are outside the timelines," said Daishinkan. "Even if you are like the Palace of Time, your Kaioshin power of time keeps you stable." Daishinkan would begin to look more transparent, although the effect on Goku was slower. "This depends on you two," said Daishinkan when he disappeared completely. "Daishinkan," said Goku, sad. "Take this," said Krinoa when he took off an earring. "Put it on the same ear as me." Goku would put the earring on and stop disintegrating. "If the ocean saved me," said Goku. "Now we will have to find the reason for all of this," said Krinoa. Krinoa would close his eyes and begin to meditate. It would cost him a lot to see the other timelines. Suddenly, they would be in the middle of nowhere. Everything had disappeared. "It can't be," said Goku. "The timeline in which we are disappeared," said Krinoa. "There is only the timeline Mother." Goku and Krinoa would reach the timeline Mother, where the Universe 7 no longer existed, and the gods of destruction and Kaioshins had died by the work of that Zamasu that our friends faced. Even so, this version of Zamasu remained as the most powerful of all. "Now that there is only one timeline, nothing can stop you," said Bobby D. "It's true. It only remains to disappear all the mortals and start from scratch," said Zamasu. Goku and Krinoa would reach the place where Zamasu and Babidi were. "Goku, it's supposed you should have disappeared," said Zamasu. Zamasu noticed the Patanera in Goku. "I see. I'll have to take it off," said Zamasu. "Zamasu, what did you do?" said furious Goku. "Eos," said Cronoa, terrified when observing Zamasu carefully. "What do you mean?" said Goku. "Zamasu has the Eos key inside," said Cronoa. "What?" disconcerted Goku. "Zamasu absorbed Eos. That way he got the control over the timelines. Let's say I didn't do it for myself," said Zamasu. "This work was thanks to my research on the consequences of manipulating time," said Bobby D. "You fools just did what we wanted you to do." "You're a bastard," said Cronoa. "That disease that almost killed you was our idea," said Zamasu. "We needed Eos to be Kaioshin of time momentarily to use it. So you can see that they did what we wanted. Cronoa burned all my books, and they didn't realize that we left others with the cure. They were the ones who used Whis to save her," said Bobby D. "You really are fools. Even the angels fell." Goku looked really furious. His ki would start to get out of control. "You're bastards," said disconcerted Goku. Goku would transform into Super Saiyan Blue by expelling his ki to the maximum. He would throw everything at Zamasu. He would get there with a punch, but by doing so, Zamasu would hold the attack as if nothing happened. "It's not possible," said Goku. "The power difference between you and me is too much," said Zamasu. Zamasu with a ki attack would throw Goku far away. He would be really hurt. Goku could barely move. His uniform was really destroyed. "It can't be that he did this damage to me with just one attack," said Goku. "Goku," called Cronoa. "As you can see, I have the supreme power. Nothing or no one can defeat me," said Zamasu. "Even Zeno Sama can't do it, because he already tried it, and his technique didn't work on me." "I don't care what you say. I won't give up," said Goku. Goku would expel all his power without caring about anything. He would throw everything at Zamasu again. He would get there with a rain of punches. Zamasu would hold each attack as if nothing happened. "It can't be," said Goku. "I told you, but your mortal mind doesn't have the ability to understand it," said Zamasu. Zamasu would hold Goku by the neck. He would squeeze him with force without letting him breathe. Goku would do his best to try to free himself, but it would be impossible. "It can't be. Zamasu is incredibly strong," said Cronoa. Goku would lose his transformation. "It's over," said Zamasu. Zamasu took off Goku's bra and threw him far away. Goku would hit the ground. He would begin to evaporate. "Is this the end?" said Goku. "We won," said Bobby. "Goku, are you okay?" said Cronoa as she went for him. "I failed you," said Goku. "No, you didn't, and you won't do it," said Cronoa. Cronoa would put his hand on Goku's face and let a tear fall on him. "Oh, what a touching moment," said Bobby. "This is so pathetic," said Zamasu, when creating a ki ball to attack them both. Cronoa's body would begin to shine, becoming light. Then that energy would melt into Goku, regenerating each of his wounds. "This," said Goku without understanding it. Zamasu would launch his attack when he saw that something was happening. Goku would dodge it instantly. "It's not possible," said Bobby. Goku would appear behind them. He could be noticed with a special energy that surrounded him. Something in him was totally different. "Damn, Cronoa is part of you," said Zamasu. "I feel like she's inside my heart," said Goku. "And I won't let her sacrifice be in vain." Goku would begin to raise his power to great levels. In an instant, Zamasu would arrive with a strong fist blow to his stomach, which would leave him hunched over. "It's not true," said Babidi. Then Goku would point to Babidi, and with a simple ki beam, he would completely disintegrate him. "Now, yes, we are alone, you and me," said Goku. Zamasu would suddenly throw Goku away. He would take distance. "Disgusting worm. It doesn't matter how many tricks you use. I am a god, and you will always be immortal," said Zamasu. Zamasu would begin to raise his ki to a great level, but Goku would not stay behind. Goku would close his eyes and breathe deep. When he concentrated, his energy would manifest more intensely until his hair would turn white. "Bastard," said Zamasu between teeth. In an instant, Goku was in front of Zamasu. Both would throw a fist blow, colliding their blows with each other. At first glance, they seemed to be at the same level. "Damn worm, I'll finish you," said Zamasu. Goku and Zamasu would begin to exchange blows at high speed while they moved everywhere. At one point, both would take distance from each other while they were studying. "Zamasu, I will defeat you and free Eos so that all the timelines return to normal," said Goku. "Idiot, the timelines disappeared. There is nothing you can do," said Zamasu. "I don't care about your words. I will do what I have to do, even if it sounds impossible," said Goku. Goku would throw everything towards Zamasu. He would arrive with a kick in his chest. Zamasu would have fired several meters away. Then Goku would reach him from behind to attack him. But before he could do anything, Zamasu would turn and attack him with a kickball. Goku would cross his arms, resisting the attack and managing to reject it. "It doesn't matter how much power you have, you can never beat me," said Zamasu. "How dare you say that? You are using my body and the essence of Eos," said Goku. "Shut up," said Zamasu out of himself. Zamasu would throw a great ki attack towards Goku. He would dodge it, and Zamasu would arrive with a kick under his chin. Zamasu would move a few meters back, but he would throw Goku again with a blow to his chest. Goku would cough blood, although he would respond with a blow to his face. Then Zamasu would throw a punch, but Goku would crouch just in time, responding with a punch to his stomach. The moment Zamasu loses his guard, Goku would attack him with a ki ball at a short distance, throwing him away. "I will take away Eos so that you lose control over time," said Goku. "I no longer have control over time. There is only one timeline," said Zamasu. "Better shut up," said Goku. Goku would take his hands back, preparing a great Kamehameha. Zamasu would do something similar, preparing a power technique of the same volume. Both would execute their attacks on each other. "I will dissipate you," said Zamasu. "That will not happen," said Goku out of himself. Both would give everything in that attack, since there would be decided the fate of all realities. What will happen now that Goku and Zamasu fight to death? Can Goku save Eos and restore the timelines? And even more important, what will be of the timelines that disappeared? We will know all that in the next part of this theory of Goku, the Guardian of Time and Space. Remember to leave your like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see the next part of this theory, the video has to reach 100 likes, and I will upload it as fast as I can. See you in the next video.